My story starts with me sharing with you that I am a gifted and talented overthinker. If there is something in life that can be overthought, then I can do it brilliantly. What that means is that going through life, I often find myself going against the grain because the way everybody else does it just doesn't make sense to my overthinking brain. And for that reason, I stand here barefoot. I'm also a fighter. And life, although has been very good to me, has also, at times, thrown things in my path that I could have run from, but instead I soldiered on through. My gift of overthinking and my ability to fight is what means that I'm on the stage here today. Aside from the occasional night where I choose to wear stilettos, or the 20 or so days every year that in this country it is too cold for me to be barefoot, I have been barefoot for 4.5 years, and I don't think it's very interesting. However, the media does, and I am grateful for my barefoot lifestyle for giving me a gentle introduction to the media, because I am the mum who runs through dog poo. To put this sensation into perspective, let me share with you that at the time that this was written, in 2012, I had run through dog poo twice in my barefoot time. Since then, in the total 4.5 years, I think it has happened maybe 3 or 4 times. So this tells me, in a very gentle, funny way, that the media loves to find the sensational angle of things. But with my bare feet, I've also experienced the other end of journalism, and earlier this year, I was featured in The Guardian magazine in their experience section. Again, a very crafted piece of media, but much more balanced. But even working with this journalist and this magazine, I was still briefed on what to wear to be appropriate for the Guardian photo shoot. Very shortly after this article, I received a phone call that would change the course of my life forever. A journalist who I had worked with on a Foot article, because there have been several, rang me out of the blue and she said, "Bea, do you still parent in that way?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, I remember when I came to your house and I interviewed you about your feet, you were very different to every other parent I knew in the way you raised your children." And I said, "Well, yes, I suppose so." She said, "Brilliant, because Closer magazine, they want to talk to a parent just like you." So I spoke to Closer magazine, and Closer magazine brought about the name of my parenting style, so that I can stand here and tell you that I am the founder of Yes Parenting. Now, Yes Parenting is not permissive parenting, which is what the media would have you believe, and you will go on to see shortly. What Yes Parenting is a style of parenting that I have developed over the last 7 years, since my eldest son, who's now 10, was about 3. And it is based on reflection and reading and observation and incredible exploration in what it means to raise children and to raise them well. And Yes Parenting is based on 3 key foundations. Firstly, nonviolent communication, which is a tool used at top-level peace negotiations around the world. It's also founded on neuro-linguistic programming, which is an incredible tool for having extraordinary human relationships. And thirdly, it's founded on trusting children. And because of these 3 foundations, it means that I am able to say yes to who my children are as individuals, to their needs, to their preferences, and for the most part to their desires. But Closer magazine put me out there in the most sensational way possible. I am the mum, the controversial mum, who lets my young son swear at me. And you see, the thing is, it's true. My sons are free to use whatever language that they wish to use. But that freedom, combined with the way that I raise them, using the foundations I mentioned, means that they rarely say anything that's inappropriate. So my eldest son has never sworn at me. My youngest son has twice, he's 8, he has twice sworn at me in moments of anger, but rather than focusing on the behaviour, I've met him in his need, which has led to that anger. And by resolving the anger and the situation, we've then been able to come to a place where I can just talk to him about how to deal with anger more effectively than to tell me to F off. The thing that I learnt through Closer is that these stories don't just affect me. When this magazine came onto the shelves and I flicked through it, once I'd initially gotten over my horror at the double chin I saw before me, I read the article with growing unease. And while sat in the car reading it, my partner, who is an incredible rock to me, rang me and he was like, "Have you seen this?" And I could hear the anger in his voice. And at the time, I thought he was angry with me. And I remember feeling so lonely. And with time and conversation and the ability that we have to listen to each other, I realized that he, much like my parents, who also had a very shocked and worried response, simply wanted to protect me. He did not want the media to be able to paint such an inaccurate picture of me. Because what the media does is it paints a very clever picture using truth, but ultimately creating a lie. So when I had the read-through over the phone for this article, it was full of truth, but the great swathes of omission meant that ultimately what it paints is a very unrealistic picture. But it is full of opportunities. And despite the loneliness I felt, despite the worry that I had about what others might think of me or what might happen with my children when they go to school, I felt alive. And that I feel no more than when I'm on live TV. I absolutely love live TV. And only this week I've been in London. I went down on Wednesday night and I was on Good Morning Britain first thing in the morning on Thursday, discussing issues that affect parents. And I love it. And they have makeup artists, which is wonderful. At this point, I've been on live TV 5, 6 times, I'm not sure. And every time it has given me an opportunity to embrace my authentic voice, to start to fill in the gaps that the media articles in the press and the magazines have left out. The thing is, these interviews are 3 minutes long, sometimes maximum of 6, and not enough to pacify the army of haters. I have been told online that I should be hung from a tree, I should be sectioned, my children should be taken from me, and I am the reason that society is going downhill. But for every hater out there, what I realized is that they are responding to a family that they've created in their imagination. They're not talking about me. They're talking about the woman who, if I met her on the street and she let her children have ice cream for breakfast every day and she let them play 18s until midnight and then be up for school the next day, and if she did all these things that the media suggests that I do on a daily basis, I think I would struggle with her. And I didn't need to defend myself because the fans stepped out to defend me. And one of the people who stepped out to defend me, this is where I have to not cry, she was on Twitter and she very clearly said that her son was in the same class as my son at school and that my son was one of the most well-behaved children in the whole school. And I had never met her, but I followed her tweets and she responded time and time again to the haters who were going on about how awful I was. And I'd never met her in person. And when she came up to me one day in the playground and she said, "Bea, I'm Julie from Twitter," I flung my arms around her and I nearly cried because her courage meant so much to me. I thought I understood the media quite well by this point. I agreed to work with The Sun. And I worked with a journalist who had initially interviewed me about my feet, She'd made that call in February about my parenting, and she has since gone on to become a friend, and she wrote an incredible article for The Sun, which The Sun chose not to publish. Instead, The Sun chose to publish an article or copy which was inaccurate and without the amendments that she and I had made together. And also what they did was they took this picture and they depicted a situation that would never happen in my family. And I was horrified, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And The Sun was so apologetic, and by lunchtime they had done everything that they could to make this situation okay, including offering me money, which I turned down because I thought the Press Complaints Commission will help me. And they didn't. They said that this picture was fine because it accurately reflected the story in the text, even though I had said to them that the story in the text was a misrepresentation. But the fighter in me chose to keep going. I chose to look for the opportunities where I could write, where I could speak, where I could keep doing the radio and the TV. And every single one of those opportunities has taken me further and further towards my passion to transform the way that we raise children in the Western world, without punishment, without excessive praise and rewards, without coercion and bribery, but to raise individuals who know who they are in themselves, who are able to set their own boundaries and respect the boundaries of others. And I worked with the Daily Mail, and this was an incredible victory. It was the most balanced piece of Daily Mail coverage I think I've ever read. So valuable was it to them that they slapped us on the most valuable piece of tabloid real estate that is available. And I had in writing from them various agreements without which I said I wouldn't do the piece. And at this point, I thought, I can do this. I can join in with the media and how they do things, whilst also having integrity within myself. I now coach families how to restore connection with their children, how to resolve issues that have been ongoing and have parents wanting to throw children through windows or bang their own heads against the wall. And I truly believe that when you pursue your passions with courage, your magic will pour out into the world. Thank you.